Commander, people of the United States, my name is Michael Case. I'm your High Priest Visionist of God, sworn in 1975, sitting in the chair under President Gerald Ford. Later, the president had betrayed me, and I had to put a permanent restraining order on his son, Michael Jimmy Ford. He's short, he's Betty's son. I had a permanent restraining order on him in the 70s. He was never to come back to Michigan. I'm asking for information. It just come to my mind, a realization after my son being transferred to Meredith, Merrimack, Massachusetts for treatment, and then later was put in a mental home against his will and then brought home, thanks to the Attorney General and Nicole's friend Rick from Post Cereals, who is now dead, by the way. That is where President Gerald Ford had flew U.S. Air Force One for all of his surgeries during the 70s. I would like that put under investigation. That tells me that Ford was here in Battle Creek again. Not only did I see him at Menards, but that is about impossible for my son to call a 1-800 number for drug treatment and end up at Meredith, Merrimack, Massachusetts hospital. And then my son comes home without treatment. And yes, he was struggling and having all kinds of problems. Yes, he was being shot at. Yes, he was being conspired against. Yes, he did get beat up. Yes, he was thrown in a sanitarium twice. Yes, he was mollied. We later found out. And I'm asking for his arrest. Now, I realize, like I said, they rented my son the 17 Glenwood house through Kevin Wilder through the shopper. After my son had rented it, I got over there to help him move in. I found Travis Davis's CD left by the last people that lived there in the kitchen drawer with all kinds of coupons and change, like somebody had moved out of there pretty quickly. My cousin Bobby from next door brought down, said two guys had just hurried up and moved out and brought down a white pool cue stick, which I recognized was Jimmy Ford's that he used to use in the pool halls in Detroit. I also found my Carhartts that my mother had given my brother Jeffrey at Columbia Court, somehow ends up in the apartments next to the one rented to my son at 17 Glenwood. I'm asking the federal prosecutor from Washington to come in and put this under investigation. I'm asking State Department arrests. This is just unreal. My son now is having difficulty with his breathing, his weight gain. He realizes now that maybe something could have happened to him while he was at Meredith. He was there 7 days, and he'd started raising heck. They'd put him in with a guy, he said, that looked exactly like him that was on heroin. And then he said they had a man guarding the room. I'm asking this be investigated. I do know Brent Bates. I caught Brent Bates' watch swing my father, Daniel Case, in 1978 or 79 to turn against me in the last days. He said a lot of antonyms or synonyms that my dad would say, things like backwards. And I remember saying, Daddy, don't do it. And Brent said he was ordered by his father to come down and do that, which he was not. His father would have been there to authorize it. And after everything that had happened through mind therapy, Russell was dead against it. And like I said, we caught Jimmy Ford running the mind therapy program through the Eagle Scouts. I do have documents and photographs to back that up, along with film. He was using that green eye symbol. Another thing to back this up, Russell Bates had told me as a visionist, if I had ever ran across that cross that hangs in the Congregational Church that my mother, Maria Potassin, brought home from Portland Island, it's got my thumbprint and Russell Bates' thumbprint in the paint. I was about 8. That was after John had left me up on St. Mary's Lake. I hit my pager. He was to pick me up. He come flying down the hill with his white Cadillac with the trunk flipping open. Guards come running out. They were going to kill me. So like I said, I was betrayed by my own president. We also had to take him to federal court because they tried to say that Russell Bates had never drove or had worked for President Ford, I believe, is how that ended up the outcome. Like I said, Joni, we tried to bust President Ford racing in here. He ran around the back down to that safe in the basement here on Territorial and got that shoebox. I'm a visionist. Joni, I mean no harm. I know it was innocent. You know nothing about it. I'm a visionist. Gerald Ford pulled in the driveway that day in a hurry. Asked you just to hold on to an old shoebox of tapes and put them up in the attic above the garage for him. They've been there about 30 years. They're camcordings of all the people he was blackmailing here in this living room. Good American people that he was bankrupting. Some didn't even make it back to the airport. One guy had recognized that he'd had this camera in the corner, wanted to know why. There was a lockbox on the outside wall coming up the stairway, and Ford tried to tell him it was the mailbox. And then Ford made a call to take him to the airport. He was Greek or Italian, but he never made it back to his country because Ford made a call, and he never made it to the airport when he left here. This is just some crazy stuff. I get mine snuffed at 15 years old, working for my president, my church. And you fucking cops in Battle Creek, and you crooked bitch-ass feds. And then you know what? I'm going to bitch at my city too, because you know what? All you fucking junkies and dope addicts, I was one too. And you know what? If you're going to kiss Mark Banke and Jimmy Ford's ass for some dope or something you did wrong to come against me and my son, you're fucks. Because you can't even take your own fucking punishment. I didn't live your fucking life. But now you're trying to interrupt mine because you're blackmailed by Mark or Jimmy for dope. You know what? Anybody that's come against me and my son, I hope you all go to fucking hell. I had 2 grandmothers raped. Yeah, that red devil, Tuandra, is the daughter of my great-grandmother up north of 6 Nations that was raped by that fucking Russian running around Kinshaw in Battle Creek. Yeah, did you know he beats babies in gunny sacks? Because he likes to hear them scream. You want to know where all of our prostitutes in Battle Creek, when they get pregnant, you want to know who their babies go to? That Russian, Tuandra's dad. Yeah, you want to know how many black men Tuandra have enticed to go sell dope or buy dope from her dad, and they don't come out? Because you know what he does to them? Tortures them. Yeah, you'll find Tuandra took my $100,000 that belonged to my grandfather up north from her mother, which was my grandmother, and 2 presidential rolls of film, which Yak Maury Robinson tried to mail out, and he said they wouldn't fit in a box up there. And then they were in the car in a yellow envelope. He wouldn't let me read what was wrote on the front. I just met him in Tuander at Salvation Army in 1996 in a rehab on parole through Omar Alston. And yeah, Emily Whitehead. And I know who her father is too. Yeah, you little teamwork Conrad Sint and fed Mark Glazier, you guys are caught. And like I said, me and Sam Keller witnessed that rush and we didn't know who he was. We went by Yaks to get some drugs and we witnessed this thumping and thumping. Someone was getting beat inside. We couldn't figure out who it was. Well, we were so high, we got in there and we realized this Russian, he's playing with a baby. Now all of a sudden he'd go, oops, and we heard a bang. We turned our heads and the baby's on the floor. Then he was telling the kid to run his head into the wall. And Sam said, what the fuck are you doing? And it was bad enough. They both just come out of the bedroom sweating and she's wiping fucking cum out of her fucking mouth. And then she got out of it. We called CPS and she got out of it and said she dropped O'Shea in the car seat on the street. And then she fucking beat that charge and then went up and killed my fucking great-grandmother. Took my money. And then they've been coming after my son. Apparently she must have told the natives I was dead. And apparently my son, the natives must have found out I have a son. I believe she was Iroquois. My great-grandmother was daughter of High Priest Potawatomi. Her cousin was the daughter of the chief, the great landowner of all the trailer parks in the state and much, much other lands. The largest landowner in the state of Michigan. And she adopted me in as a boy. I used to go to the reservation. I hope some of the boys remember me fighting 3-on-1, getting tomahawked. But the elders didn't want me taking no more blows to the head because they wanted to fill it with knowledge. Yeah, they use real wooden tomahawks. My natives are tough. Yes, they are. We used to arm wrestle, Indian wrestle. I'd like to come home. I got a lot of homes. I'm poor blood. Like I said, and then I want that Social Security office closed out here at Lakeview Square Mall. And then I want Mark Banke arrested for breaking a federal gag-ordered restraining order in 1977. He was to never, ever come near Michael Todd Case's family, nor I, ever. He was only to go down main roads, which is Columbia Avenue, Capitol Avenue, only main roads. He was never to be down Beetle Lake Road, and he was never to be down Golden, and he was never to be nowhere near County Park. And he was never ever to hire me on his premises and then had me living there behind the historical house. And then he screwed me on my last paycheck. He pays Bruce, leaves Bruce's check at $14 an hour, but can't leave my check for $10 an hour. And takes his daughter and shoots to Disneyland. And I find out he's down there trying to get signed up by Jeb Bush. And then was going to have me murdered up there at the same time. Not only was he going to do that, he was going to have Bruce kill his wife and set me up for murder. Let's all take a lie test on that one. Because I'm high priest business. You think they swore me in at 7? Because I'm not? You think I'm not still alive? Because an angel don't liveth in me? You seen anybody else in the world take on Mark Banke and Jimmy Ford and stay alive? You better think again who lives in me.